Hi, Misha here, and as I'm sure some of you realized, we kind of took a trip during spring break, and when I came back, I had several boxes with some new guns from JDI sent imports. So I thought we would do a relatively brief video looking at 3 or 4 new model variants in from Switzerland. It astounds me. 10 years ago, if you had said that getting SiG SG55 type guns in from Switzerland would become, if not routine, at least on a regular basis, I don't know, no one would have believed you, and it's happening. Dave really has made what seemed impossible very, very fortunate for a lot of us. So we're just going to go through, look at them, and also we have some pretty fun and exciting channel news that's going up over on Patreon, a couple of different posts there. So if you'd like to sub over on Patreon, $1 a month, you can ask questions, plus you'll kind of get some channel updates and news and exclusive outtakes. Might be fun. But if nothing else, if you could, please at least like, share, subscribe. With that, let's look at what Switzerland and JDI have cooked up for March of 2023. Ugh, I'm still getting mud off of and out of my camera. Well, at least I had a GoPro for the whole event. First up, in no particular order, the 2023 SIG SG751RP SAPPR. This is a gun we've seen before, and more of a traditional SAPPR configuration. The last couple batches previously were the SOCOM configuration, which mostly meant they had a painted finish, either gray, FDE. They came with the quad rail, and they came with the 4-position gas regulator. They also came with a higher price tag. Yeah, higher than already. This is returning to the traditional SAPPR that, I don't want to say it's basic, but, you know, you see it here, plastic handguard, black finish to the metal, and this is the 20-inch barrel version. Very few of these came in this time. I think there were 10 16-inchers and 10 or 15 20-inch versions. So that's what you get. There's pros and cons to each. Of course, this fires 7.62 NATO, has a 1 in 11 twist, and feeds from 20-round proprietary magazines. And just for some fun, let's cut back to some older shooting footage of the previous standard SAPPR, which I believe was a 16-incher at the time, and then we'll talk about this one for a minute before we move right along.
I am rolling, ready when you are.
Alright, very first shots out of the SAPPR. Helps if I take the safety off. It's kind of an awkward place safety on this one.
Which one was that one?
The SG751, it's called a SAPPR, Swiss Arms Precision Rifle.
That one's loud.
308.
For more on history and really detailed specs, I did a pretty in-depth video on the military's version as well as the civilian. You can go check that out. It's on the channel. Put it out maybe a year ago. As you saw, the one we shot back at the cabin there was quite similar to this. It just had the somewhat shorter barrel, and of course we threw a stock on it. It's got an end plate for import as a pistol, but you can legally put a stock on because, the barrel is distinctly over 16 inches and the overall length is distinctly over 26, so no problem there. Just to really hit up the highlights, we do have the folding rear sight as a backup, which is more usable than you would think. But you're mostly meant to use this Picatinny rail, which is welded on, not bolted on. Well, it's kind of riveted and welded. so it's very secure. Of course, we have a folding front sight, and this is adjustable for windage. Back here is elevation. We have sling loops. We have a steel upper, and we have an alloy lower. And all 751s have alloy lowers. There's not a steel lower for this. As I said a minute ago, it has its proprietary 20-round mag. When these are available, they're not too expensive, at least for a 308 proprietary mag. The problem is availability. They come in very small numbers, I'm not going to lie. If you buy one of these, you'll get one mag, and it's going to be a bit of a chore to find more. But when you do, pick them up. We have the standard folding trigger guard, a standard adjustable trigger, at least somewhat adjustable the stop is, standard ambidextrous safety. This is of course safe and semi only. Fun fact, some of the military and export guns are also safe and semi, especially with the longer barrels. The shorter barrel guns though sometimes have full auto. We have a bolt hold open and release device here, pistol grip with storage compartment. We have hand guards here. This is standard 551 length, although there is one difference we'll point out in a minute. And they do have holes to bolt on rails, or you can just swap them out entirely for the SOCOM. This one has the two-way regulator as far as I know. And this is a cold hammer forged barrel. Very high good grade there. Good accuracy. This is kind of a cross between a DMR and a battle rifle. And then it's capped with a birdcage flash hider, removable. This is not a single piece. This is what they call a two-piece barrel. And it's standard threads underneath. I believe they're 5/8 by 24, but I could be wrong. But either way, they're standard suppressor threads, and these are considered suppressor-ready. Flipping this over, I need to make a correction. As I say, guys, I just got here and opened these up. This does have the four-way gas regulator. So the standard and adverse, and then flipping it over to unique settings for suppressor, or, just turning it off completely. So the really only big difference in the SAPPR version and the SOCOM here is the handguard. And railed on the SOCOM and the plastic on the SAPPR. And this is a standard 551 length gas system and handguard, except for one thing. Notice there's this spot here. That's where the latch would be for the buttstock on a standard 551, but it's machined off on these. That's because it's been moved to the receiver here, or the lower I should say, because the upper is the registered part. Because this fires 7.62 NATO 308, it has, well, about this much longer of a receiver and frame to accommodate the longer NATO cartridge. And that allows us to use a standard buttstock, either the traditional folding fixed length of pull or the newer folding adjustable length of pull. If we kept using this nub in here, we need to stock a little bit longer. So they avoid that by doing that. So yeah, pretty neat in my opinion. And there is one small change to the accessories the 751 shipped with in 2023. As before, you just get the one mag, of course, and the cleaning kit. No manuals. They stopped shipping manuals at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021. It's just a thing of the past. You can download the PDF. But one change that I wasn't expecting, and actually JDI was not either, they started shipping it in the longer hard case. Same style and pattern as we've seen before, but longer. And that's actually kind of nice. With the 553 and even 551 carbines, you can fit them in with a buttstock attached or previously arm brace, unfolded. But with the 550s, the PE90s, and the 751s, if you wanted to put one in the case, you had to fold the stock up, which kind of made it bulge out. It fit, but it was kind of eh. With this longer case, you can insert one with a stock folded out, deployed, even with the 20-inch barrel. So that's kind of nice. The downside, well, one, the case isn't tall enough to let you put an optic on it. Not unless the optic is very low profile, which is not likely with a 7.62 NATO gun, but yeah, maybe. Another downside for us dealers is shipping these cases is not inexpensive, especially with current rates, UPS and FedEx, and especially the mail. But oh well, it is a new case, and I think people will appreciate that. I should also say that the last batch, at least the ones, some of them had the ovular cutout and the markings. Now we're just back to standard smooth markings there. Some didn't like the ovular cutout, some did. It's just that I'd point out that these no longer are doing that. You know, it's not an inexpensive gun. It's the by and large, the 751 is the priciest of the standard models. But then again, it's not like the HK-MR 762A1 or FN SCAR, especially the new 20-inch versions, are cheap either. It's just kind of in that high-end European guns that are in between being a sniper rifle, DMR, or battle rifle. And they are fun, they are reliable, and probably something that you wouldn't regret picking up if you had the coin, but if not, don't sweat it. Very few have come into the country, and these will probably never be available in large numbers or even produced in large numbers in Switzerland, so that's kind of neat. But with that, time to move on to our next new variant for March of 2023. Next up, we have the SG553R returning, R standing for Russian. That means it fires 7.62 by 39 and feeds from standard AK mags. I put a steel one in here just to show you. It comes standard with a mag pull and of course the cleaning kit. And this isn't just a commercial gun. This actually began back in 2007 or so with a Russian FSB contract in Spetsnaz Special Forces. A few other countries were probably interested too because they used the cartridge and mags. Well, because of the Crimea War, 2014 and onward, not all that many were delivered to Russia, but the R&D had been done, parts made, so that's ultimately how we ended up with this model here. So it isn't just something made for the civilian market. It started off as a contract gun as well. This is the LB version. That's the only one that's been imported so far, probably ever will be. It is a two-piece barrel, not a single piece. This is 11.9 inches long, so just call it 12. And it has standard threads. Again, I believe I'll ask. I can't remember if they're 5/8 by 24 or whatnot, but, you know, standard enough. Capped by a bird cage, which brings the overall length to about 13.5 inches, give or take. It does have the bulge for the grenade ring. It doesn't have a bayonet lug in the loop, but you could put one in. Be cool if they made an AK bayonet adapter for these. Otherwise, pretty standard 5.53 style handguards, standard plastic latch, standard pick rail with flip-up sights. This does have an enlarged ejection port for the 7.62 by 39 cartridge. That was something they did for better reliability. They really did test these. Just like with the 751, because this is a newer model, these are only built with the alloy lower, and they have a traditional 5.5 style mag release here, so effectively ambidextrous. And you see the coloration for yourself here. Now, as a pistol like this, these aren't a lot of fun to shoot. And we have some old shooting footage of one as a pistol. Let's pop that in just to refresh your memory.
SG553R.
So yeah, not as fun. Now that original version of the 553R that came in had a manual bolt hold open / release here. Not an automatic, because again, AK mags, there's really no good way to do that with AK mags. But the newer versions that have come in for the last couple of years, they deleted that. Kind of makes me wonder if it was either just removed for economic reasons or if it was interfering with certain mags or production standards. I don't know. But I have noticed it disappeared on newer releases for the last couple of years. This does have a 4-way gas regulator as well, and from this outset, these were designed for being able to be fired suppressed because that was something the FSB Special Forces needed. So yeah, if you buy one of these, you can definitely run it suppressed. Of course, in the past, the answer to how to shoot this, since being a pistol isn't fun, would be put on an arm brace. Well, at least for now, that's not really something we can do. But luckily, this one carbines up pretty good. So let's have another old shooting clip.
SG553 carbine.
So what I did there, I kind of took inspiration from the old TGI AMD 65. What they did on it, they took the original AMD 65 break, which is quite large, and they took a piece of tubing, threaded it on both ends, and then used that to extend the barrel from roughly 14 inches, including the big break, maybe 14 and a half, out to 16, pinning both ends. I did the same with this on a previous gun. Removed the flash hider, made a tube, threaded for it, put the flash hider on the tube, affixed it, and then affixed the tube to the barrel, giving us an overall length of 16 inches. I don't think it looked too terrible. It didn't throw off the balance because it was just a tube. Actually, what it was is it was a barrel section that had been cut off and bored out, so good steel, and didn't really throw things off. Only added, well, about 2.5 inches overall, because this is about 13.5 including the hider. The only downside is you do lose the ability to remove muzzle devices. Of course, you could just make a longer extension, roughly 4 inches, and thread it on the end and retain a removable flash hider. That's an option. Or, of course, as always, you can just SBR it. File for the stamp, get the stamp. Either way, carbine or stamp, stocks are perfectly easy to put on. Just don't put one on right now as it is, because that would be creating an illegal SBR. And if you want to do a brace, frankly, I say hold tight. Hopefully, probably things will change very soon. But it's nice to see the 553R return. It shoots a fun common cartridge. It's pretty flexible. And out of all the imports, these are always the least expensive. They're still expensive, but they're still several $100 less than the rest, and actually $1,000 or so less than the 751. And it comes in the standard shorter hard case, but that's all you need for this sized gun. And again, no manual. With that, let's move on. Next up, we have what Dave, the owner of JDI Sand Imports, said when we interviewed him was his favorite variant, at least in terms to shoot. The SG553-300. Well, not exactly imaginatively named, but this fires 300 Blackout, or rather the European variant 300 Whisper, but it'll fire 300 Blackout just fine. These have been on the market long enough, and we know that. Very similar configuration to that 553R. Same two-piece barrel, so it's 11.9 inches. Removable flash hider. Instead of a grenade hump, because it's a thicker barrel for the cartridge, it just has this little ring here. I think that's a backstop, maybe for a suppressor to make sure it doesn't bump up against the gas regulator. Best theory, in case you have a really long one or something. Or maybe if you want to cut it down, it shows you where you should stop. I don't know. Now, this is only a 2-position gas regulator, but it's suppressor ready. You don't really need 4 positions because that's 300 Blackout. It's just not really needed to have 4. It'd be pretty redundant. And as you see, this is an FDE. Pretty neat. That's one thing that sets this 553-300 apart from previous versions. In the past, we've received some that were just standard black plastic furniture. We did get a batch in that were standard black but with railed handguards. That's pretty neat. And now we get the FDE version here. Of course, it comes with 1 mag, cleaning kit, and a standard case. And speaking of mags, that's another thing that sets this version, this variant, apart. all previous versions came with a standard lower, meaning it accepted standard SG553 type mags. Like this. That's fine. That's kind of one of the benefits of 300 Blackout. It's pretty well interchangeable with 223 in a lot of ways, although you can have a special mag with a different follower for even better feeding. But since this is kind of a American cartridge or concept, and since they were going for more of the new FDE look, this time they are shipping these with the STANAG lower, the NATO spec lower, or the US lower as they sometimes call it. This isn't something made for the American market. No, this was actually developed quite some time ago for export customers that wanted to have kind of compatibility with STANAG mags, and they work very well, these lowers. So in this instance, I think it's a great idea. That also means you can use 300 Blackout specific AR type mags made in America in this gun or anything else. And of course, if you care about 922R, 3 parts can be right here. You know what I should have done? I should have grabbed one of the FDE AR mags. That'd look really sharp in this. Anyway, I digress. These lowers are alloy, as we've seen before. Even when they shipped them with the standard lowers, they were alloy. I like it. It's a good combo for this package. Maybe plunk on a NATO bayonet lug just for fun. I would say put on a quad rail, but since this is more of a suppressed short-range weapon, I think I'd hang out with these unique FTE handguards just because. I'm not saying I'd keep one of these. It's tempting, though. I kind of like this look for the 300 Whisper, 300 Blackout gun. And of course, you have the same options with it as you would have the 553R. You can either SBR it straight out, or you can do an extended barrel setup. Of course, with 300 Blackout, you probably want to have a way to attach a suppressor. There are some different mounts you could do, or again, just make a 4-inch tube that's threaded on the end and go from there. Again, it's a standard threading. It has standard sights, standard top rail. But I was kind of looking forward to this. I thought it would be an interesting flavor, interesting variant. Of course, these ship with one Magpul PMag with the cover on top. Plenty kit. That's the standard mag. Switzerland's not going to make their own AR mags. Why should they? Magpuls are just fine. Actually, I've got the light on here. Let's look at this FDE in a different light. Here's the finish with the GoPro light on it, just to give you a more direct light perspective. That might be good. How well do you think the handguards color match the metal? And of course, up here is steel, down here is alloy. So, and of course, polymer again. You're trying to match quite a few colors. I don't think they finish the barrel. Usually these are just left straight phosphated. Still, cold hammer forged barrel though. Like I said, I should have grabbed that FDE mag just to complete the look. But at least when they were going to go FDE, they didn't wimp out. And one more flip around, just to show you this set with the light on. Why not? I don't get much out of it, but hopefully you do. Pretty cool, I think. I'm interested to see if Fox ends up taking one of these because he does own 300 Blackout. I would have done more with the cartridge on this channel, except none of my other friends own 300 Blackout guns and thus ammo. So even the few times I had, say, an MCX come in that had a 300 Blackout barrel, couldn't readily find ammo. And yeah, it's just kind of weird going online to buy ammo for a gun you don't own, and you know what I mean? But if a friend's got ammo already, bum me a couple of boxes. By the way, this is kind of a standard AR trigger guard, but it does hinge down AR style. Nice triggers on these. Pretty standard. Standard sling loops. Nice weight, nice balance on these. They're not ultra light, but yeah, not super heavy either. And these are priced kind of right in between the 553R and the 751. So they're expensive, but not as expensive. And having the kind of special order STANAG lower well, that adds a couple $100, always does, just like with the Steyr AUG. But on the other hand, you're able to use any mags as opposed to these that on a good day are $70 and often go well over 100. Whereas AR mags, I don't know, a lot of times you can find them free or $5, especially Magpul, and they will always be available. So it's a good practical choice. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Some other gun that came in with this order. What could it be, guys? What could it be? Originally promised to be here by Christmas of 2022, then January, then February of this year. It finally made it March of 2023. The SIG SG553-2. And this is pretty much the ultimate model. Previous versions were really nice. We had a little over 50 come in 2 years ago. But they were the newer Picatinny rail style. This has diopters. And it's actually marked Commando. It is a -2, meaning it's a 1 in 7, not a 1 in 10 twist, but that's okay. Out of such a short barrel, this is the SB, of course, 8.9 inches. You probably do want that faster twist. Only 10 of these were made, and only 8 were sold. 1 Dave kept, 1 he set back for me, and then 8 he pre-sold. I have none to sell, guys. Wish I could have bought all 10, but I'm honestly just grateful to have the chance to even get one for me. As you see, it's pretty great. We have the steel lower, correct gray finish. Of course, it takes standard mags. There's just a couple of things that are not quite correct for if you want to do a late 90s style gun, because even though this is built with original parts, it was assembled in 2022. But I have plans to correct that. Flipping it over, you can see the frankly iconic 5.52 charging handle, which gets into the whole difference between it and a 5.53. The one thing that's not iconic, this has a birdcage flash hider on it. That's because this barrel is threaded 1/2 by 28. The original 5.52 had a 3-prong Rotex. A couple of different styles have been used, but that seems pretty symbolic of this Commando. Unfortunately, those were threaded for 14 by 1 left hand. But don't lose hope, I have a plan, which we'll discuss in a previous video. Instead of cramming this one in at the end of this video, I'm going to revisit it, discuss why people still want the 5.52 over the 5.53, even though the 3 is superior, how this one is different from the previous versions, why that makes it desirable, also the shortcomings, the pitfalls, all that stuff. You know me doing that. But just for fun, let's close out with a shooting clip of the previous 5.52. Then we'll wrap things up.
SG552. She held up.
So yeah, stay tuned for that. I will kind of do a deep dive on the 5.52's history in America. For example, some of the police trade-in guns we saw. It was actually the 5.52 that first got Dave into Swiss guns, and ultimately why this gun exists, because he wanted pretty much this exact makeup, but it was a long road to finally get SIG to produce it in this specification. So it's great that at least some are made. Some is better than none. 100 would have been better than 10, but 10's better than 0, right? But that can be next time. This time I just wanted to kind of show off the new models, give you a heads up. I know it has, like I said at the beginning, become a little bit routine now, but it's not a bad thing. Collectors, and even if you don't buy for posterity, think about today. How many people ask about, how many of this Chinese gun or that Chinese variant did KFS, Kang's, import, or how many did Clayco bring in. If nothing else, I'm doing my best to kind of document the variants as they come in for posterity. And while I can't share numbers with you now, maybe let's just say I'm taking notes, and one day in 20 years when these return to just being history pieces, we'll have hopefully a documented history of the 21st century SAN and then SIG imports, so we won't be left in the dark. And of course, eventually we're going to get this one out to the range, because you know me, I don't buy guns just to make them exclusively safe queens. Although, with the 5.52's reputation and proprietary parts, this is going to be more of a once-a-year shooter than a daily driver. But, you know, nice weekend it can go to the range. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. Haven't done a SIG video, kind of more of a low-key video in a while. Hope you enjoyed it. It was fun making it. If you could, please like, share, and subscribe. And again, if you'd like to get some channel news and outtakes and updates, go over and check out Patreon. You can also participate in the Q&A session. Number 24 is going up either right before or right after this video, probably, for the YouTube. Patreons have already seen it for about a week, so it's another little perk. We do what we can, and Fox and I continue to try to expand the channel and whatnot this year. With that, this is Misha, and we'll catch you very soon next time.